Hi everyone, welcome to the 000, the War Inside and Out podcast. This is where police, fireys, ambulance officers, doctors and nurses have the opportunity to share their experiences of what it's like on the front line. If you are battling post-traumatic stress disorder, please watch or listen to this on Spotify and YouTube with a support person. If you are in immediate danger, please contact Lifeline 13 11 14. I hope you get some value and some educational strategies on how to deal with PTSD, and I hope you get a greater understanding of what emergency services go through on a day-to-day basis. If you'd like to reach out to me to share your experience, my email is craiggibson75@outlook.com and my Instagram handle is craig_gibson75. Thanks very much for listening and watching. As I said, it's available on YouTube and Spotify, and please reach out to us if you need any help whatsoever. Thanks very much, guys. All right, here we go. Mark Andrews, hello mate.
How you going, buddy?
Good, it's a little bit different. We're via Zoom today.
Yeah, mate, I wouldn't mind coming up to where you are, but anyway.
Yeah, it's nice up here at the moment. There's plenty of sunshine. We had a lot of rain over Christmas and New Year, but the last few days it's really settled down and calm again. And yeah, I'm getting up and looking at watching some sunsets, which has been good.
Yeah, mate, I've seen you posting that. They've been really good. So,
hey, whereabouts are you at the moment, mate?
Mate, I'm just at home at the moment. So
yep.
Just sitting in a bloody stinking hot day out in Penrith. So
is it?
Just sitting in the cool of the lounge room at the moment.
Yeah, cool.
Following a bit of the cricket. Yeah.
How are you feeling? Give everyone an update on where you're at.
Mate, yeah, I'm feeling right at the moment, but in terms of my claim and that, I went to saw my psychiatrist last week. He's got a request from my solicitor to provide a report to counter the insurance company's report. So we did that on Wednesday, I think, last week, and then he was doing the report over the weekend, which should be available tomorrow. And then he'll forward that to my solicitor. And then it's up to my solicitor then, based on what's in that report, the strength of it, and obviously the strength of their independent report, to throw it back at the insurance company and possibly ask them to review it and overturn it at that point, which they've got 21 days to do, or we can take it straight to the Workers' Comp Commission, which once we send it to them, they've got 8 weeks to set a hearing date for that. So, but if we send it to the insurance company and they decline it again to keep playing games and that, then it could be a 11-week wait. So it's either going to be a 3-week wait, 8-week wait, or 11-week wait until I know what's going on. So, mate, the process continues, and it's just that uncertainty, which is a difficult thing to deal with, I suppose, because there's no time frame that I can be definite with at the moment. But it's all, at the moment it's just hinging on my the quickness of my doctor to get this report and getting that to my solicitor so they can take the necessary steps from there. So yeah,
it's just the process, isn't it? And it's just trying to deal with what's going on inside of you, as well as be patient with the process. But then on top of that, you've got layers of anger due to delays and purposeful delays and deliberate actions from the insurance company, and manipulating the process to prolong it or hoping you give up.
Mate, you're 100% correct. There's definitely manipulation there, and the delays are unnecessary, to be honest. And I know a lot of people experience the same thing. It's tiring. It's been quiet, but that's pretty much because it was Christmas, New Year, and none of them were working, so I didn't expect to hear anything over that period. So that sort of lengthened the waiting, I suppose.
Yeah.
And whether they knew it or not, it's just, it still feeds into your anxiety and stuff like that. So, mate, I said things are in my court, on my side of things at the moment, waiting for this report from my doctor, and then my solicitor, hopefully she'll submit ASAP upon receiving that report. our next step, and then it's back into their hands again, I suppose, the process. But it's, mate, I wish I had it. That's the thing. I would love to have a date. So, well, it's going to be finalised by this date. You'll definitely have an answer one way or another by this date. So at least there's something to work towards. But at this stage, it's still, I'm looking at April, I suppose, before I could reasonably assume that will be an outcome.
Wow.
So
that like you said,
goes.
Sorry to cut you off. Like you say, the analogy of the broken leg. So imagine you've got your broken leg, and right now you're sitting there wondering whether it's going to be 3 weeks, 8 weeks, 11 weeks of when you can get a cast on your leg and be given some crutches. Yeah,
some support. So
that's unbelievable.
Mate, it is. It's not acceptable. And that's the thing. It's the frustrations, and with having a mental health issue and stuff like that. It's actually, they couldn't have picked the perfect thing to feed into your anxiety. It's almost like it's too perfect that they can know that you're anxious and you're stressing as it is, and yet they've picked something that they can absolutely highlight and heighten that so much more. And they feed into it very well. So if in one aspect that they're good at their job, they're definitely good at doing that. So
what are you doing? What are you doing at the moment to cope?
Well, one of the strategies when I was taken to hospital was one of the psychiatrists up there said, even though I'm not working and I don't have anything to do, he said to get myself a weekly to-do list.
Yep.
And then try and jot down something to do each day. So it's like I've got similar to being at work, I've got some sort of schedule to keep. So I have done that, and it's obviously not working that, which you've still got a lot of 8 or 9 hours to fill up in a day. But I know I'm not going to fill that up with just doing things, but I've started to sort of like try and have breakfast around the same time each morning. So it's a bit of routine.
Yeah.
And I've started going back to the gym in the morning, roughly around the same time, about 8:30, just to try and get that routine back into my life.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's also like the exercising is a great way of self-caring and looking after my mental side of things as well, and also to feel better about things. And then in the afternoons and that, like just trying to eat healthy, which is pretty easy when you've got no money, so you're limited to what you can buy. So it's not like I can go buy takeaway and stuff like that. So I'm pretty restricted to what I can eat and stuff like that, which is pretty good because I can actually focus on eating decent food and stuff like that. And then probably go for a walk or do some exercise in the afternoon just to try and do something and just get out and about. Like it's, I've been trying to do a bit of reading and that, which is difficult in terms of concentration and that, but I've still been trying to do a little bit each day.
Yeah. Do you try
things have been okay.
Do you try and read things that are educational or just completely like escapism? Like, do you try and search for comedy? What type of books are you looking for?
At the moment, I'm reading like a biography by Matthew McConaughey, which isn't too bad. Yes, Green Lights.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you finding it?
Yeah. I don't mind it. It's, I like the idea that he sort of diarised his life and all that sort of stuff, and he can look back and reflect on certain things. So I've only just started getting into it, but I haven't found it too bad at the moment.
Yeah.
And I also got Paul Kelly's How to Make Gravy.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't started reading that one, but I'm looking forward to that because he's an incredible singer-songwriter. So
yeah,
I think that'd be a great story to read, actually. So
yeah, that's good. How far are you able to get into them without other thoughts coming in, or?
Mate, truthfully, only a couple of pages.
Yeah, that's fine, mate. Yeah,
it's difficult. So, like, I'll probably read a page and a bit, and then put it down, and then just try and regather my thoughts before they start drifting off and stuff like that. So, the concentration's really hard at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. The thing that's perseverance. It's just doing a little bit each time, and then hoping that maybe tomorrow or even this afternoon when I do read might be 3 pages that I get out in the rut, and then hopefully get 4 pages next week or something like that. But it's just persevering. But in the back of my mind too, I know the process is still going on, and it's just trying to keep my mind occupied and my thoughts away from that process, because I know I could possibly get a phone call or an email or a message or something like that at any, like we could get one while we're doing this right now, and that could be just a trigger to set me off and stuff like that. So it's, in that respect, it's scary knowing that insurance company can wield so much power over your well-being.
Yeah.
And that it could just, your whole day could just change by just a simple email or a phone call or a message or something like that. Like it could flip my whole day up completely upside down. I've also been trying to go for drives down to Bondi and stuff like that, just to drive. It gives me 2 hours round trip, and it just gives me something to do. So that kills some time there. Go for a walk down there, a bit of a swim. So it's just that mindfulness and trying to be active and just trying to do something. Even when I don't feel like doing anything, just staying in bed all day. It's just a big accomplishment for some people is just actually getting out of bed and going outside.
Just getting outside and just moving forward in some way.
Yeah, just a simple thing like that. Like it's some days that's a massive achievement. It's a huge accomplishment, and people should look at that as being a positive step. You know, like small steps, it's still a step in the right direction. So and it's like I'm okay at the moment, but in the back of my mind, I know things can go way downhill quickly. As I said, just simply by a little bit of correspondence coming through that obviously I'm not going to like what's contained in it type thing. So and mate, it does scare me in that respect.
Yeah, mate, there's messages coming in from all over the country just telling you to hang in there and to just you know, to just keep talking about this, and by doing this it's actually helping other people. And that's why I'm asking about, you know, how you're coping, and just because other people are asking or are sitting in their apartment or at home, and you know they've lost friends and they've lost a job that they love, and they're going through this process of dealing with IMEs and insurance companies, and they're saying, I don't see an end to this. And I'm just, you know, if you and I, like, you're in the depths of it, and between the two of us, if we can just share that it will get better, if you can just, whatever you need to do to get through each day while this process is happening, do it. Just be here.
Yep. Mate, it's as I said, there's days where I've just thought, you know, the simple thing is just take the easy well, it's not an easy option, but it's to take that final option and you know, self-harm or something like that. And I know a lot of people feel the same, because you just push to that point where you see no end in sight. You the frustrations and that, it's just it's a massive load to carry. And you do lose loved ones over it. You do lose friends over it and stuff like that. It's a toxic process that you're caught up in. It really is. Talking to you about it does help. I know we've tried doing, there's been days where you've asked, do you want to do a podcast today? And I've just been, I'm just not feeling up to it today. And this isn't by any means like something that's simple to do and stuff like that. So there are days where I just don't feel like doing anything and stuff like that. So at the moment, I may appear that I've got all my shit together and all my everything, you know, lined up, but it's not that way at all. Like, looks can be deceiving and things like that.
I'm sure you won't mind me saying that twice now you've driven 30, 40 minutes to get to where I was living at the time, and you know, was set up to do a podcast, and you got there and, you know, you'd had a bad night, or you'd had a run into that where you just weren't in a good space to be able to do that. But then we've just sat there and talked.
And that's the thing. That's been really helpful, just being able to get things off your chest and being able to talk. Like the thing, and before I go any further, I just want to thank all those people for those messages they've been sending you, inquiring about how I'm doing and stuff like that. I truly and genuinely appreciate that, and knowing that there are people out there going through similar experiences. I'm sorry that they've got to go through those experiences, but if I can offer any support to them whatsoever, then I'm happy to do that. I know what it feels like, and I don't wish that upon anyone. I really don't, and that's half the reason why we're doing these podcasts, and that is that system has got to change, so we aren't going through this crap and we aren't having to suffer and feel this pain and anxiety on top of what we're already feeling.
Yeah.
Just exasperating what we already are going through with our PTSD and traumas and anxieties and stuff like that. Yet insurance companies, management, they all seem intent on adding further anxiety and stresses to an already stressful situation.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all you're doing is seeking help for your post-traumatic stress and stuff like that. And yet you can't even address that because you're addressing all this other crap in the meantime just to try and get help to address that.
Exactly.
They've put up this massive wall in front of you before you can even, you got to try and smash through it or climb over it or something like that just to get the help that you require.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much why I'm, like I said, doing these podcasts, and why I'm still kicking is because that competitiveness in me, I suppose, which I always played sports and stuff like that. So it's always been there. That competitiveness is, I'm not going to let the bastards beat me. There's days where I thought, they have beaten me and I'm going to go and end things and stuff like that. But in the back of my mind, I guess the saving grace is that I've got that competitiveness and I've got my family and my kids to think about, and those thoughts do rally me to think, well, I can't let the bastards get me. So
yeah, that's it. And for
just
anyone who's, sorry mate, sorry I cut you off.
No, that's right, mate, you go.
I was just going to say, is if anyone doesn't know, like we're trying to represent both sides of the story. So you're someone who's been medically discharged and gone through the insurance company process, and you've been exposed to that hell. And I'm representing because I resigned back in 2005, and I didn't realize what was happening to me, and I just thought if I said a word to anyone, I was weak and I was ashamed of, that I was at home crying, and the risk-taking behavior that I was engaged in, I just basically checked out. I resigned and left. And so it wasn't until 10, 12 years later that I actually started to deal with what I know now as PTSD. But so we're representing both sides, anyone who's resigned and didn't know what they were going through. And, you're can see the point of view from anyone who's been medically discharged and having to go through that insurance company process.
Yeah.
So it's, because a few people have asked whether I've been going through it. I resigned. And so I was, trying to deal with that. I'm glad now that I know what so many people have gone through that I haven't gone down that avenue, because I don't know if I'd be here. Hey.
No, yeah, and that's I'm hearing you there, and I sometimes think, why am I still here? How am I still here? Type thing. And I said, like, up until it was only not that long ago that I did contemplate and attempt. So it's not like it's something that's I'm not going to say that I'm safe from it, because I'm not confident enough to say that I'm safe from that not happening to me, which is a scary thing, because even though I'm trying to do so much self-care in that and try and look after myself as best as I can, I know when I get triggered and things like that, or that, self-control and rational thought process goes out the window. You become your thought process becomes very emotional. You become very, I can't think of the word, but you're just unpredictable, I suppose. You just act on impulse, and
you start reacting, not responding.
Yeah, and it's scary that I know some of the things that when I've been really worked up, and that the things that I've been thinking of doing and stuff like that, it is scary that if I do take the next step, what happens from then on. And when you get to that sort of point, it's it scares me, because I'm wondering when I'll get to that point that there is no return.
Yeah.
And I think I've been pretty close recently. So, but man, I'm still here. I'm still battling, and I'm just trying to do the best I can each day. And I think you got to try and simplify. Like, I'd love to have an end date, but I've just got to do. My main focus is just seeing today out, and then I'll start the process again tomorrow.
Yep, day by day.
And each day begins with just getting out of bed, getting up, and you know, that's all you can focus on at the moment is just get out of bed, and that's an accomplishment in itself some days.
Yeah, you just got to do what you got to do to get through each day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's where I think was helpful. What that doctor told me when I was in hospital last was just get yourself that weekly planner and put things down there, and they don't have to be big tasks. Like it might be just simply, you know, go for a 20-minute walk or something like that, and put a time down. And just if you don't make the time, don't stress about it. Just try and make the time later on for it. But it gives you sort of like maybe just a plan of what you can do. Because I know a lot of times when I've found when I've got nothing on and I'm just sitting around, when you've got nothing planned, you can't think of anything to do, and you procrastinate about what you want to do and stuff like that. So I found that as a useful little tool, which I didn't think of before until a couple of weeks ago when the doctor told me about it. So a little tool that was given to me, and I found it quite beneficial. So
yeah, cool.
Other people might be able to use that sort of method and see if they can get some help through that way or whatever it is. And if other people are going through a similar thing and they're doing other things, I'd love to hear what they're doing as well, because that's how you learn strategies and coping mechanisms, is by listening to other people who are experiencing the same sort of thing too. Like, not everything works for everybody, but you might pick up a little thing from someone else that may be beneficial to your own circumstances. And
absolutely,
sharing
what I'll do is for sure. So what I'll do is I'll put up our details so people can contact us at the start of the video.
Yes,
for today's mate. I guess what we are trying to do is put together these podcasts and whatever information we can, and see where this develops, to create awareness and to be proactive about getting people care and support whilst in the job, rather than waiting until people are actually completely destroyed or broken before we actually try and help them. Part of that, just looking into things, I sort of come across a few things which I thought, God, surely we can do better. So I looked at the New South Wales Police annual report for 2018, 2019, and just some things I got out of that were, I'd just love to know your thoughts, but they were just like interesting to me. So there's 17,111 cops in New South Wales, a budget of 3.6 billion a year. Now, what was concerning and is the rate of people being discharged for being medically unfit. So 2016, 2017 financial year, there was 114 officers who were medically discharged. 2017 to 2018, that rose to 158. And then 2018, 2019 has risen again to 184. So there's more and more constables and senior constables that are going off medically unfit or being medically discharged each year. Now, of that, the New South Wales Police reported a 16% increase in their insurance premiums due to the amount of cops now going off medically unfit. So they spent 2018, 2019, New South Wales Police insurance premiums were 218 million. So the year before that, they were 176 million. So there's an increase of $42 million a year due to the increase in insurance premiums because officers are going off sick. Surely $42 million just to pay insurance premiums, can't we put that money into better care for police officers while they're in the job? or try and prevent, because I don't know about you, but I found it wasn't as though that I just woke up, and this does happen to people, that I'm going to leave. There's a slippery slope, and it starts years before you actually end up, because you love the job, but you end up, because of the lack of support and the lack of programs and the lack of everything, you just burnt and churned through this system. That if we could put more care into saving people before they get to that point of getting on that slippery slope, surely that's going to be better money spent rather than just paying them in insurance premiums. Like $42 million in a year in an increase in insurance premiums. Like I don't know, I just found that, like, then it goes on to say, so major works that are in progress or due for completion across the whole New South Wales Police organisation until 2022, there was tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars being invested into programs and capital expenditure and all these projects to make the organisation more functional and provide better service to the community. Great. There was nothing in there for the mental health of police. So again, like, what are we doing in terms of being proactive of caring and supporting officers while they're actually working, rather than waiting until they collapse and are destroyed emotionally and physically and mentally. Like I had a message from a constable who's in a very busy pack at the moment, and so they did a 20-hour shift, backed up the next day with a 16-hour shift. At the same place, there was one shift where there was 5 deceased, 2 sexual assaults, 1 stabbing, 3 crime scenes, and 38 outstanding jobs. So like that, like when there's been other messages where I've had that, they've clocked onto the shift and there's 36 outstanding jobs. Like this is like day after day after day. And then that same constable was saying, people are just screaming out for help with paperwork because they're just drowning in it. And they're spending their days off going into the station to catch up on paperwork. And, they're too fearful to ask for help from the sergeants because they just need the jobs cleared. They're not worried about the paperwork you've got from 2 weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
So when you've got this sort of level of, just relentless jobs coming in and you're not getting enough time to recuperate, there were 10,000 allegations put against police in 2018, 2019, a little over 10,000. 40% of those complaints or allegations were against or were for customer service or service standards. So when you are under the pump, you're burnt out, you've got shit going on at home, you don't know who to talk to, who you can turn to, your tolerance level lessens and you become more moody and you're under stress and you become more anxious and more fearful and you don't want to deal with people. So by not helping police when they're actually doing their day-to-day job, by providing them with the right resources, of course you're going to have 40% of your complaints are going to come from customer service and also service standards. Like what, to me, that's a no-brainer. That's one area, just by looking after cops, that we can improve greatly our interaction with the community. Because I know when I had my shit going on, I was not as compassionate to when I was doing my job.
Yeah, 100% right.
So, you know, even resignations from 2017-18 to 2018-19 went from 148 to 198. The admin staff resignations went from 169 to 221. Now it's like the medically discharged admin staff went from 16 to 18, and yet on the beat constables, senior constables went from 158 to 184. So there's the exposure to trauma and the lack of support and the relentless grinding into the ground of your spirit is people just can't cope. So, mate, yeah, that's just a few things that I sort of picked up out of that straight away, you know, we could do better. And it was interesting reading some of the things in this annual report was the pats on the back to them from the, you know, the senior officers, you know, their financial status and blah, blah, blah. It's just, you know, I wanted to see more of what they're actually doing to care for the members, the staff. So I'd love to see what you think about this. I've put together 6 points, which I'd love to see as a wish list or something that I would love to start, you know, trying to get implemented, I guess. First one would be the age of recruitment to join, minimum age of 25. The reason I say that is because when I was 22 and I joined, by the time I was 25, I'd been exposed to that much death, violence, and destruction, alcohol, risk-taking behavior. I didn't know how to deal with it. By the time I was 25, the damage was done.
Yeah.
Your frontal lobe's not even fully mature until you are 25. Now, when that is not fully mature, or if it's still developing, that's the area of your brain responsible for impulse control and executive functions like planning, memory, reasoning, goal-orientated behavior. So the things that I think are really important to a police officer is impulse control and planning and reasoning, and setting goals and having that goal orientated behavior. If you're accepting people like yourself that were 18, 19 when you're joining, you've still got 6 years of brain development to before that area is mature enough to cope with what policing throws at you. So no wonder we are having so many officers that are in before they're 25 that are just damaged. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Mate, I'm 100% agreeing with you. It should be the age should be extended out.
Life experience too. Yeah.
You can't, like, it's all well and good that they have people that are academic. Nothing against academics and stuff like that, but yes, there's an academic side to it. Policing is a very physical and mentally challenging job. No amount of reading books or sitting in lecture theatres is going to condition you to what you face when you get out in the street. It's a simple fact. Like the dynamics of when you're at a scene, whether it be domestic, a brawl, a motor vehicle accident, stuff like that, like it's not textbook. Things change at all. You know, like you can't, in a textbook, you control what you're reading. You can control the lecture theatre and stuff like that. It's a fake environment. The reality of joining the job is only what you can learn through life skills of actually living life and being out. Yes, you may not be going to scenes and stuff like that, but if you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and having to go to a job and labouring for 12 hours a day, you're actually experiencing life. You know, you're getting to know what hard work is like. Then you can get an understanding of why someone comes home from work after working a 12-hour shift and then gets into an argument with the wife because he's tired and she's begging him to go and, you know, empty the trash can out or something like that. And then there's just family dynamics like that, which you can't teach to someone. I had no idea about domestic, you know, dynamics when I joined. I was 18 years of age. Like, you know, and I was going to domestics trying to sort out their marital problems.
Yes.
Mate, I was you know, like I still was not even, you know, going between girlfriends and stuff like, you know, it was just a joke. Like,
Yeah.
I look back now and people must have just looked at me and thought I was a joke, you know, just a kid in
Same, I
uniform.
agree. Yeah.
You know, and I look now, like now that I've got experience and I'm older and stuff like that, I look at the young police now and I think, you know, you don't know nothing, because I knew at the time. I can look back now and I know I knew nothing about life.
Mm.
You know, I knew what the law and all that sort of stuff. I knew what we had, you know, I knew our caution we had to give and all that sort of stuff. I knew what we had, points of, you know, evidence we had to find. But that's not life.
No.
You know, it's life experience is something you cannot teach in a textbook. You cannot teach at an academy,
Yeah.
or through a university. And that the only way you can get life experience is by living life.
Yeah,
and
that's
100%
right.
agree with you. People should be told, well, they're not told, but it should just be mandatory that you can't join until a certain age.
Yeah.
And fuck all the do-gooders. Like, sorry to swear, but all these people that say, well, you know, it's discriminating that you can't join us. Fuck them. Like, they don't understand that policing is not a normal job. You know, like, it requires a certain physicality. It requires a lot of fucking mental maturity, which mental maturity does not come until your mid-20s to later in life.
Yeah.
Especially for men. Like, men develop mentally a lot later than women.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's still that physical requirement that men have got that over what women would have, but women shouldn't be, you know, discriminated because of that either. But there's got to be some balance there that physically and mentally the demands of the job are met, because it's not being met. It hasn't been met for a long time. Like, it's all right for them to have these numbers, but people are too young.
Yeah. Even at 22, I was the first time I'd left home when I went to the academy, and then, you know, I was already involved in risk-taking behaviour, and I had an ego about me, and then so my shit is still developing and still maturing in my mind, my impulse control and my planning and my goal-orientated behaviour, and then they give you a gun and power, and you know, and then you go into some, you know, I remember going into, you know, people's living rooms that were in their 40s and 50s and dealing with their marital problems when I had only just left home myself. Ridiculous.
I mean, it's, and you find you've been told the legislation around domestic violence, and this is what you. But there's more to it than just the law. Like, there's so much more involved in policing than just, you know, looking after the law aspect and stuff like that. And until you've got that appreciation of actual life and have that life experience, I don't think you can be a good police. And I saw it when I first joined. The good coppers were the ones that come in from trades and stuff like that, ones that had life experience. They made the best coppers because they were hardened and they'd had that life experience. They knew what life was about. Yeah. And therefore they knew how to, you know, implement the law and stuff like that, and serve the community a lot better, because they had that life experience that they could relate to.
Yeah. You're more likely to have engaged with people in different life situations. You're more likely to have lived out of home. You're more likely to have held a job or a couple of jobs where you've had to be supervised, or you've had to show some initiative, and, you know, you've had to get yourself up and get to work. You've had to go through that daily grind of work. Like, I just, unless you have that experience, you can't then go into, I think, one of the toughest jobs that you can actually do on a day-to-day basis and perform well, or be an adequate service to the community. And also, you know, not allow that damage to be done to you so early.
That's 100%.
Yeah. Mate, the next one would be a full-time counsellor or psychologist in every police area command in the state, in every ambulance command, in every fire, fire station, like a group. So, but definitely because of our experience in the police, I just really want to talk about that. But, you know, say, for example, some of the bigger commands, like, why can't we have a full-time, even 2 or 3 counselors, psychologists that there's hundreds of people that work in that command that could then have full access to someone who, one, understands policing, two, they understand what shift work involves, three, there's someone that you can go to that is not your supervisor or your boss, and someone who you can go to and talk about your marriage problems, or talk about your drinking, or talk about your anxiety, or talk about your stress or your depression, or talk about your childhood, without going to have to tell your supervisor, who's also the one who ticks off whether you go to that training course, or ticks off whether you can apply for that promotion, or ticks off for your transfer. The amount of messages I've received in relation to people don't say a word because they're being bullied by the very person that they have to go to. So having someone who's independent of any workplace practice that you can go to and talk about your issues outside of work. Then also, once, if they're there and you go to a deceased, or you're involved in a high conflict situation involving a weapon, or a high speed pursuit that goes for a while where you're in a heightened state of alertness, then it's mandatory that you go and spend some time with that person. Do you think that would be something that would be worthwhile? Because at the moment, there's police that need to speak to people, and they, one, can't get in to see a psychologist or a counsellor for 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's $200 plus an hour. Surely that's something that the service could provide as part of being a police officer.
It should be mandatory.
Yeah.
The jails, they've got counsellors, they've got welfare officers, they've got psychologists, all for the prisoners there, for them to go and talk about their feelings and what led them to commit their crimes and stuff like that, and they're there to help them get things off their chest and work with them about their mental demons and stuff like that. So why shouldn't it be any different to the people that have got to put them away? And you're 100% right, we're not robots, or we weren't robots, and the police that are currently now aren't robots, where they don't have life outside of work, which will impact on their work. But yes, they probably just come home from home to work and just have a massive argument with their partner, about something that's nothing to do with work, but it plays in your mind. I've been there before as well. And it does affect massively your ability to work, because you're not 100% focused on your job. You're worried about what's going on at home.
100%.
And especially like these days, one of the biggest stresses is financial stresses. So if you're going into the job worrying about how, you've got outstanding bills or something like that, or you're just separated or something like that, like it's just, that's the thing with life. Like it's not just, that's where management that needs to pull their heads out of their asses and realise that the job is not your whole effing life. There's more to life than just the job. And every aspect of your life will impact how you do that job. And wrongly, it does dictate your life, but management seem to think that it is your life. And by simply having that measure in there, by allowing you, no, you can't go and talk to your supervisors and stuff like that, or you can't speak to your peers, because again, that's that culture where, you're probably intimidated to go and talk to them. And then if you need to speak to them about down the track about going for a transfer or applying for a thing, then you're worried that they're going to put a negative comment in there because you did express that you're having troubles at home or something like that. And so they won't allow you to go and do that extra training or something like that. So you're always worried about the negative impact, or whether word's going to get around that, you've got this problem or something like that. So they need something that's going to be highly confidential. And to be fair to the supervising sergeants, like, they got a lot on their plate too. So if
100%.
If a member was to come in and express that they've having difficulties at home, and then all of a sudden you've got a major crime scene going on as well, like, you brush that member to say, well, I can't deal with you, I've got to worry about this crime scene, stuff like that. And then the member's going to feel like not validated and stuff like that as well. So and the supervising sergeants unfortunately seem to be lumped with everything. They got management barking at them. They got frigging all the troops barking up at them and stuff like that. Like, they're caught up in the middle of it. They've got to implement all the management shit, and they've got to do all the handling and supervising of all the ground stuff as well.
The media are ringing them.
Oh, mate, they're the main port of call type thing,
Yeah.
Duty officers, mate, not all of them, but pretty much most of them, it's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
They're not genuinely interested in doing your welfare checks or anything like that. They're just, most of the time, I've seen it, most of the time sit there typing up the job applications for the next bloody promotion.
Yeah.
Once they get into the I don't know whether they should separate management from the general policing or whatever it is, make it two separate areas or something like that. I don't know, but it just seems to be once they get into that level, their focus on what's good for the troops seems to disappear, and it becomes more about what's good for me.
Becomes political to them then.
Yeah, they become very self-centered in what they want, because they're on the path of ascending, and they don't want to make any waves that's going to affect that.
Yeah.
So if I have an independent psychologist in the stations, 100% agree with it, because it takes away that pressure from management, takes that pressure away from your supervisor, and it takes away the pressure from the member that is suffering, that they don't feel they can go and talk to someone. There is someone there available to them.
Yeah. Mate, the next point, which sort of flows on from that, is a full-time nutritionist and a full-time personal trainer at each station.
Yep.
They're responsible for helping cops eat better, move better, sleep better. Like the three things that really can enhance a person's energy levels, can really affect their mental health. How many times have you seen cops just blow out because shift work and they're just eating crap? And so many people don't know what protein, fats, carbs, and the levels that they're getting in, and then how to time that and how to, just do meal plans for them. And, personal trainers could be there to, not hold everyone's hand at every gym, but, provide strength and conditioning programs, demonstrate how movements should be done. Like, why doesn't have every station or pack have a dedicated gym where members can go to, where someone is employed by the New South Wales Police that actually has your interests at heart, and, there's someone there that you trust that you can go to and talk about your mental health. Psychologist, you can talk to someone about your meal plans and what you're eating that you trust, someone that you can go to for your physical training, and even introduce Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, to complement the tactical training very little tactical training that they already receive. So, like, why can't a pack have a full-time counselor or psychologist, a full-time nutritionist, and a full-time personal trainer?
They should be able to do something like, I'll just get my charger for a second.
Go for it, mate.
On the phone going flat.
Yeah.
Mate, 100% agreed. Like, the demands of the job are predominantly physically. What I find funny is police headquarters at Parramatta. It may have changed, but when I left, I'm 100% certain there was a massive gym down there.
Right.
So it's great that all the management and all that are being looked after, and they're staying fit, yet they sit on their bum all day in an office. Whereas the workers and that are out there on the field, but they haven't got those facilities available to them.
Yeah.
And I thought that there was something in the police book or something like that all police stations were meant to have a gym or something there, or a fitness facility available. I've never seen, apart from when I was at Penrith, there was a bit of a gym there which was pretty much put together by people that work there, their own equipment. Yeah. I've never seen a real good gym at any police station that I've worked at.
No, I've never seen one.
I'm 100% certain when I was down doing a course at police headquarters that I'm pretty sure they had a pretty good gym down there.
And as you know, like, who's showing them how to use equipment, like, safely? And
well, you need someone these days. Speaking of insurance companies, they're not going to bloody pay if they're going to look at any loophole to get out. And if they have a member that gets injured in the gym or something like that, and they haven't been shown correct, the way to use the equipment or the way to lift the weight correctly, and that, you can guarantee they're going to drop that claim. So
yeah.
But getting off that anyway, mate. But they definitely need something in there, because like each year for increments, and that you got to do your shoot, you got to do your online testing. So therefore you're looking at your shooting, which has got to be competent every year. Your knowledge has got to be competent, not every year, but all the time. Some of your shooting and stuff like that, you do your your resistance training and all that sort of stuff. You get tested at the college with your fitness. That's it. After that, there's no testing.
Good
Why
luck.
isn't that part of why isn't that part of incremental progression?
Yeah.
Like why aren't you required? You're required to maintain a level of competency with your firearm. You're required to maintain a level of competency with your knowledge and stuff like that, which is that's fundamentals of the job. But also the other thing too that you had to be tested before you graduated and became a police officer was your physical side of things. Yeah. And you were tested for that. So why isn't that continued after you get in there? Yet people then develop bad eating patterns not because of it's because of the environment they're put into. When you're on shift work and you're rushing around from job to job to job, the quickest option is to grab buddy KFC or grab Macca's or something like that, because you're going past it, grab it, get it, eat it on the run, go to your next job.
Yeah.
They need someone in there to educate them and be available to write up dietary plans, to write up exercise plans based around shift work and stuff like that. So they can, and that goes to your mental well-being too. Like since I've been out, and what I've learned is a massive way of coping and self-caring for your mental health is physical health. So, and that goes not just with exercising, but with what you eat and stuff like that as well. There's got to be more education with it. Like, if all these things were in place, they come at a cost, but then you got to look at the long-term effect that if these things are in place and they're properly implemented, not half-assed like the department's very good at doing, implementing something with half measures and then it's always never going to work. Run it properly, put experienced people in it. Don't just get someone who's just got a degree and haven't got life experience doing it, especially with the councils and stuff like that. They should have at least a minimum 5-10 years working in the industry, actually dealing with people that have got post-traumatic stress or something like that. So they're not, they've got some knowledge of what's going on. Same as the fitness industry. You can't have a novice coming in there and you need someone who's got experience, a good background in there to go in there and say, well, this is this is the diet I can write up for you. Write them out programs and stuff like that. Like they could.
That's right.
Like it's not going to, the expense of having 1 or 2 people working at each station writing up a program for police to, like, the cost benefits to the department would be less sick report possibly, because people are a lot more healthier, looking after their mental well-being. So that's going to reduce sick leave straight up. And even if you've got the PTs there running group things, you're going to improve morale around the station. There's so many benefits that will come from it. And same as the psychologist, the benefits there is long-term, it would reduce the amount of people going off sick because they can actually speak to someone. Someone can get on top of things earlier instead of later when the horse is bolted and it's too hard to rein it back in. Mate, that's just the funny thing I find with police management is they're so adamant about being proactive in terms of policing. Why aren't they proactive in terms of their managing? Why aren't they stopping these things from happening until after they're so proactive that we get out there and do this before it happens or whatever it is. Let's be proactive, not reactive yet. Everything else to do with the members and staff is reactive. And it's not even reactive. It's just, their way of reacting is get rid of them so they're not a problem.
And that's
proactively, if they looked after their members, you'd probably see that resignations and medical terminations that start declining because people, I know for a fact if I was better looked after with counselling and stuff like that and services provided, I'd probably still doing the job.
I would be too, mate.
And just to make clarification, like I'm not going through my insurance company now because I'm getting out of the police now. I got out from the police in 2012 and I went through the whole insurance crap back in 2012, 2013 before it was all cleared. Then I got myself back into working. I'm now working for another government agency. I had a relapse of one of my traumas from during my police days, and that's why I'm battling the insurance company at the moment. But I'm not battling them to be medically discharged. I'm just battling them for the right to actually get treatment. So,
which is a big difference.
And I just wanted to clarify for that anyone that's just joined the podcast now and they didn't know if I was talking about being the insurance dealings now was to do with the police and that, but I've gone through that a couple of years ago. Now it's like the same process again, and from one government agency to the other government agency, it hasn't changed. It's still the same crap. And from what I'm hearing from people that are getting out of the police now, medically retired or discharged, nothing's changed.
No, that's right. And
the only thing that's changed is the insurance company. That's about it.
Yeah, the name of the insurance company.
The name of the insurance company.
I mean, that's like the things that have helped me, and this is why we're doing this and putting this together, is the things that have helped me is I'm older. The things that have helped is talking, eating better, exercise. And so why wait until I was absolutely broken and then had to figure that shit out myself, or go to psychologists to be told that that's what you need to do? Why can't we implement those things way back to keep people maintained throughout their service so they never have to leave? If we're willing to spend 42 million on just increased premiums, why can't we spend 42 million of that money instead of having increased premiums, instead of having more people make claims? Let's spend that 42 million in actually setting up proper programs to help cops talk, eat better, sleep better, move better. That's
exactly.
To me, that's a no-brainer. But the next one would be,
Oh, mate, that is a no-brainer, and I think most people would agree. It's just got common sense, and that's one of the biggest things I was taught when I first joined, is that you got to work with an element of common sense. So when you start the job, and then when you get into management, at what point does it get removed from you, that common sense element? Why can't they make these simple decisions? Like, it all comes down to money, but surely if they did a long-term analysis on it, it would show that if effective treatment and management of the staff's well-being and mental health would show that it would be cost-effective and save the money down the track.
Yeah, and save lives. I mean, it's
more importantly, 100%.
And save lives, man. Mate, the next point I had was 25% of your shifts are either training or for Coro. So you've got 4 12-hour shifts in a block. The last one is for Coro. I'm getting messages from all over the country of cops saying they are drowning in paperwork, and when they go and ask for help or a Coro day, or, hey, I've got to get this done, they're told, sorry, get out there. There's this many outstanding jobs. And then they're worrying about the build up, and then they're going in on their days off, and then they're stressed about that. And these are people that have been in the job 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. They're just getting burnt out. When I was in, the amount of training was ridiculous. You had nothing really. Once a year, you did your firearms and your non-lethal tactical exercises. You had your simunition. So like once a year. And I know one thing for me was when I wasn't sure of myself, when I'd go to jobs in terms of, okay, what's my tactical response? Okay, yeah, fine. I was probably stupid at times and ran into things and I just rolled with the punches. But more training around how to deal with conflict on a constant basis, and the amount of times laws change or amendments are made to procedures, like what training are we getting in relation to that? If you're not confident in your training or your job, that's going to affect your self-esteem, and you're going to make poorer decisions. So I just feel that if we put more emphasis on training and allowing cops to catch up on their correspondence, you're going to have a better mental health outcome moving forward. And day by day, when you're not feeling stressed and anxious about, the war that's sitting in your pigeonhole.
Yeah. Oh, mate, there's the correspondence side of thing. Like, that's one area that's got heavier and heavier that I've seen over the years. Correspondence. And as I said, you go to a job, there's paperwork associated with it. So you can't just expect them to go to at some point, that paperwork's got to get done.
Yeah.
Like those figures that you're saying, there's 17,500 police. I'd love to know how many of them are actually available that aren't on long-term sick, that aren't in administrative jobs and stuff like that. I'd like to know what that's the figure that they banded out. That's what we've got at full strength, but they're not at full strength.
So there's another 3,000 on top of that that are in admin. So there's 20,000 all up. 17,000 are actually
that's civilian admin.
That's civilian admin. And then there's 17,000, which is your troops on the ground, your or your support services around that.
And your ones that are on sick leave and all that sort of stuff too. So that's a overall figure, but it's not a real figure. And that's the problem there, is they can talk about these figures, and that sounds great for the government and all that sort of stuff, that we've got all these X amount, but let's have a look at the real figure. Like, let's have a look at how many police are actually policing our streets 24/7.
Yeah.
And what support they're being provided in terms of going out there, doing the job, coming back, getting all the paperwork completed. So they've got a thorough brief of evidence to take to court, so that the crims don't get off on a bloody law technicality, which not whether they've done the wrong thing. It's just basically an element of law or proof, whatever it is, that you didn't meet. You know, when you gave the caution, you had one word out of it or something like that. So they, say that it's an unlawful caution. So therefore, all the evidence given after that's, but it's just all crap. Like, it comes to a technicality, not whether they've done the right or wrong thing, but there's no support in that respect, because the police are just overloaded with work.
Yeah.
You just got to get the job done. And that's where mental health comes into it, because, like, we all want to do a thorough brief, we all want to do a good job, but when you're bloody pressured to go out and do another job, that's when shortcuts will start coming in.
Yeah.
And then things aren't getting done thoroughly, and then safety aspect comes into it then.
Yeah.
Once you start taking shortcuts and stuff, that's when safety becomes an issue. Like those real figures, I'd love to know what the real figures are, because, as you said, the police are way overworked. The GDs I'm referring to here, like, the GD staff are expected to do bloody everything. And hats off to them. Like, seriously, like, as I said, I've had dealings with the police over the last couple of months and stuff like that, and I feel guilty that they've got to come here and waste their time dealing with me because I'm having problems with the insurance company and stuff like that. I feel guilty in that respect, because I know how busy they are, and I know that hour or two they're waiting for me to be bloody assessed and stuff like that is valuable time. They could be doing their paperwork and stuff like that, and the jobs are still, I can hear the radio going off and jobs mounting up, and other cars having to pick up the work that they're not able to do and stuff like that. So, mate, 100%, they should be, but that's a problem. They just don't have the numbers that they can assign them in the workday, and that's where the government's got to get realistic about the numbers that they've actually got that are actually policing the streets. They need to work on real numbers, not frigging, figures
Exactly.
that looks good on paper, but it's not real.
That's right. Exactly. And I'm glad that you raised that, because that was my follow-up was, yes, it's going to require more cops to be able to achieve that. But, well, that's just what it takes. Like, you can't.
Exactly.
It's just what it is. Like,
well, let's tell the criminals that each year only 150 of them are allowed to. We've only got a budget for 150 to go and do crime. Yeah. Like, that's the thing with crime and stuff like that. There's no restraints.
That's right.
There's no, you're a gang, you can only have 20 members, or whatever it is, or your budget's this amount. Like, they work to no constraints. I'm not saying the police just go for a big free-for-all and have unlimited numbers. Yeah, it's got to be managed, but let's have realistic numbers too. Not numbers that are going to look good for the, the politicians and stuff like that, or for the budget or crap like that. Like, even with the budget for the police, fireys and ambos, like, it's a job that shouldn't be budgeted, because each given year, like, look at the fires that happened recently. I'm sure those massive fires, the fire brigade hadn't budgeted for that year. Yet their budget I'd imagine, with their overtime and expenses, would be blown out for that financial year. So how can they possibly work to a budget when something that, and the nature of all our frontline workers, it's unpredictable. You can't predict what's going to happen. So how can they predict the budget on an unpredictable job? Yeah.
2019-20 annual report's going to include border closures, hotel quarantine.
Yep.
So I'm sure that wasn't factored into the budget. So you can't, try and work towards it, but it can't be the be all and end all. And no, you can't have any of this mental health support for frontline workers because we're trying to save money on, just to make budget.
That's the ridiculous. And I know that's where commanders have got their hands tied too. Like, I know, I know bag management and stuff like that, and that's only personal. But I know they've got their hands tied from up above, like politicians and the commissioners and all that sort of stuff. Each command's got a budget they've got to operate within. But
Yeah.
It's not feasible. Like the job that we're dealing, it's an unpredictable job. The dynamics of it change hourly, not daily. Every hour, like, you know, you get all of a sudden a major crime scene, and therefore you've got overtime being incurred and stuff like that. You can't budget for the unpredictable. And therefore, like, as long as they can justify their spending, there shouldn't be an issue with it. But don't tie everyone up before you even get to that point. Like that's what they're doing. They're pretty much tying everyone up before they can even do their job.
Yeah.
And that's where it's not giving them time to do their correspondence and stuff like that, because you know, you'll have to come in on a day off, but we're not paying you overtime for it. Like that's bullshit.
Yeah.
They want the job done and then pay for it.
Exactly.
And I said, like, if a commander abuses that and just buys shit stuff, which is quite, you know, obvious what they've done, if they can't justify their spending, then they're the consequences of it. But if it's justified, then there shouldn't be an issue with it at all. It should not be budgeted one bit. And look at the revenue that the police bring into the state.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, like highway patrol and that pure revenue, like those speed cameras and that pure revenue, like,
mate, it's all good points, hey, mate.
And the thing is, like, I just don't think the police service can operate, one, on budgets.
No.
Two, they've got to be fair income about the way they treat their troops. No bloody band-aid solutions. Don't give them a frigging EAP card and say they're going that number and get help. Like, help should be there at the station. When they come back from a critical incident, shouldn't be given cards. They should be taken to a buddy room where there's a counsellor already there waiting for them. Yeah. You know? Not some inspector that's got no idea what to say or what to do, and except hand out a card and tick and flick that they've spoken to them and, you know, debriefed them on the incident. There should be a professional there that deals with grief and trauma and stuff like that.
Exactly, mate.
Until the police service gets actually real and fair income about it, instead of like blowing wind up everyone's ass and talking shit about it, they've actually got to do something about it.
Exactly.
Because more lives are going to be lost. And I said, some of these police suicides, and I'm sorry if I upset people here by going to this point, but some of them are done because of outside problems. And yet the police service gives them a means to take out this suicide. The fact that there's lethal force there, and they've got access to it. You've got people that are in charge of firearms, cars and stuff like that, that are coming in not mentally sound. It's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. And that's why there's got to be a lot better systems in place. Yeah. Like in the paper on the weekend, there was a recent article about Defence Force personnel in headquarters just killed himself down there. Same thing as a police and that, like, they got the means to do it. They're getting access to those means because no one's keeping an eye on them.
Mate, that goes on to the next point that I had was, okay, we've got a full-time counsellor or a psychologist, and not, you know, it probably needs to be 2 or 3 full-time per police area command because of the amount of jobs that police go to. You know, if you know, annual leave and whatever, you know, leave for the counsellor or psychologist, there's someone there to take their place, or they, you know, they can do shift work or whatever. But, you know, creation of a mental health unit within each pack, and, you know, who's monitoring the meal breaks of police officers, and when they do go to a deceased or they are involved in a high conflict, high risk situation where there's firearm, knife, syringe, motor vehicle involved, there's some traumatic event that a police officer exposed to, they're actually then given immediate access to that mental health team. You know, then the mental health team are following up, okay, on that shift, who didn't get their meal breaks, why not? You know, do you know what I mean? There needs to be some more accountability to what that cops are getting, you know, adequate break on a 12-hour shift. Like, I know like me, way back when, it was, you know, you'd go your whole 12-hour shift on the road. And you wouldn't stop. And I'm hearing now from constables that nothing's changed. Yeah, you get a meal break from time to time, but it's more often than not that you are just getting smashed. So, like, who's monitoring that? And then who are they report? Like, that should be something that should be reported on. And like we've been saying, don't worry about EAP, and you can get a an appointment in 2-3 weeks' time, you're given access immediately to the professionals who can actually, even if you don't want to talk, it's, or you feel like there's nothing wrong. We know that just builds up over time.
Yeah.
Like, just talk about what you've been through. Okay. And it might not, you're not going to be emotional about it, or it's not going to affect you, but just talking about it can actually bring up stuff that you didn't even know. So if you talk about it and there's no problems, fine. At least then it's recorded somewhere. You've spoken to someone who's a professional. Okay, great. And then the final point was, I've been talking to a few people that are on maternity leave, and they've had no contact whatsoever from anyone within the organisation they work for in relation to going back to work. There's anxiety around, confidence and, having to come back into the workforce part-time. She wants to feel like that, she still contributes, but also there needs to be a transition. There's been policy and procedural changes that she has no idea. No one's, she's aware of it through talk and gossip around the place, and mates that they're in contact with, but nothing formally to like. For me, someone on maternity leave should be confident and happy to return to work in that part-time environment without any stress and anxiety. Because at the moment they're left wondering what's installed for me when I get back, and I'm not hearing from anyone. I'm feeling a little bit less confident. There needs to be a team of people who are independent again of police stations that help people that are on maternity leave, and they also help people who are resigning or have been medically discharged, in terms of a first point of contact of transitioning out of the police. Okay.
Yep.
These are the courses that are available to you in relation to, getting into the workforce. We spoke about earlier, there are institutions where you can get RPL for your experiences as a police officer, to get
Yep.
actual qualifications, just to be made aware of those sort of things. And basically, just a welfare check on how you're going. You left a month ago. How's life going for you? And then, okay, well, try this resource. Here's, I don't know, but there needs to be some type of, because I'm getting a lot of people, they love the job and they're grieving because they're no longer in the job, but through no fault of their own, they're out medically discharged. And it's like, what? Where do I go now? I don't know where to go, what to do. So some aftercare of helping cops that have served, some of them are 15, 20, 25 years. And next thing they're out, and just nothing. There's just no communication from the organisation whatsoever. Do they have a responsibility for that? No, but it would be a care fact. Like, I would like to see that that's how you join the cops and you are still cared about after you leave. That's just my opinion.
Mate, you should. Well, I said the dealings I've had with the police recently, and I'm full of respect for the blokes that have come and had to deal with me and stuff like that. Like, they've been, they've showed empathy. They've been good bunch of people, actually. Again, I felt guilty that they've had to come and deal with me, and stuff like that. But that's obviously just the nature and what's got to be done in that. But mate, they always say, like when they come and see, you're part of the Blue Brotherhood and all that sort of stuff. But it only takes when you're in a desperate need, or in your, you fall foul of the law, or you're attempting suicide or something like that, that you are back into that brotherhood. Like, it takes that before you're actually, oh, there's Mark. How you going, mate? You know, like you're forgotten about otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's like with many others that have probably just gone off and done things. They're probably struggling through their life, but they haven't had those interactions with the police and that. But apparently there's this still blue brotherhood or something like that exists. Like, yeah, I'm sure there is, but it's not, it should be used before it gets to that point, you know, like, I don't know what the perfect answer is for that, you know, like, it's hard because when you leave, yes, that old, everyone keeps saying, you know, you're just a number and all that sort of stuff. It becomes very clear that that's all you were. You're just replaced and forgotten about, really. As bad as that may sound and whatever it is, and I'm not going for any woe is me type thing. It's just a reality of the thing. It's and I remember police saying before, once an ex-copper, there's nothing worse than being an ex-copper, you know, like trying to find work and stuff like that. You know, it's difficult to get a job, especially not having the, like, yeah, you're trained up to be a policeman, and it's very difficult then to find work elsewhere. Yet our skill set's very unique and very variable that we can adapt to most situation. Well, we can adapt to every situation. We're trained that way. We can adapt within, you know, a couple of minutes' notice. We can adapt to any situation needed. You know, we can go, you know, from a violent situation to being empathetic to someone. You know, so our skill set's there, and it's same as defence personnel. We're trained at a high level of that. You know, like we're able to adapt. We can pretty much deal with any situation. Yet when you leave, you're left to your own devices. You just
that's what I mean. I'd just love to see a little bit more care in transitioning people who are on maternity leave back in, and also helping people transition, no matter how they leave, out of the job.
There's got to be a detraining or something like that, and like give people the skills of how they can go. Like some people leave and they have a job to go to, but still people need to be shown what to do and stuff like and detrain. Like that's the thing that you get trained up, and I know you still experience the same as what I do, is that all your senses are still heightened. You know, you scan your area and whatever. You're never fully relaxed. Yet these skills and that you've been heightened to be highly alert and stuff like that, you're not detrained from it. So
mate, all points of discussion and all points that we can just keep working towards to try and like, we're just trying to bring more awareness that there needs to be some more proactivity rather than nothing at all in terms of care for people who are currently in the job. It's too late for us and too late for everyone that's gone before us and that have left. But every copper and amber and fiery and SES and rural fire service and corrective services and nurses and doctors is like, we're actually burning and churning every single one of them. And there needs to be more proactive support on the job while they're in it before everyone hits that slippery slope of no return. And that's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, mate, I'm glad you mentioned all those services, you know, like corrective services, fireys, ambos, nurses, police, SES, rural fire service, and all those sort of things. Or first responders and stuff like that. And the overriding thing is, Gibbo, is everyone experiences exactly the same thing. Like I'm in a different government department now, and it's still, but I've been off for now 16 weeks. I've had not one phone call, not one, from management, or from my workplace. And so it's not just the police, it's every government agency. So therefore, that word government, that's who's responsible for all this. The government needs to pull their heads out of their fucking asses and realise there's an overwhelming problem with all emergency service personnel, all frontline workers, which they need to fix. Yes, management needs different organisation. I've only got my beef with like police management, and also now Department of Justice is management in terms of my dealings and stuff like that. But they don't change. They're exactly the same. And as I said, I've been off now for, I think, at least 16 weeks. not one phone call, not one check to see how I'm going, and they know I'm on leave without pay. So surely that would be a concerning matter for anyone to think, well, hang on, Mark's not working, he's on leave with no pay, he's got mental health issues. Like, isn't that raising some alarm somewhere? Like,
that's the team that I'm talking about. Is once you are in that land, who's contacting you? Who's responsible for that? Exactly. And so, you know, where's the care for actual people? And it's, you know, I put a post up about it yesterday, is that government departments are created to help society just function. So they're machines that are built. Then what happens is every government department, we shove humans into those machines. Humans have thoughts, feelings, emotions, and we expect them to help that machine operate by stripping away their feelings and emotions and making them machines themselves. But it just doesn't work. And so you've got all these people working in government departments that are just being treated like robots. And we're just, as soon as they're emotionally, physically, spiritually, sometimes financially broken, you're just discarded. And in goes another human that they try and make a machine, and on it goes. And you can't have a machine running on thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It just doesn't work. And
no,
until we actually can recognize that, you know, we're not machines, and that machine actually puts together some care and some support for the humans that are actually in there working it, helping it run, the system will always be broken.
Oh, mate, it will. As I said, mate, the government, and mate, you know what, I'm going to name names because I'm sorry, mate, but I've had a gutful of them, to be honest. Like Stuart Ayres, local member, Penrith. I went and saw him 2012, 2013 to discuss what was going on with insurance companies. Gave him the typical politician response. Oh, mate, I'm working with you on that. I've actually got meetings coming up, blah, blah. I'll be in touch with you in 6 weeks' time. That 6 weeks' time now is what, 2021.
Yeah.
So if Stuart Ayres, or anyone that knows Stuart Ayres, here's his pod. I'm still fucking waiting for that phone call that you promised.
Thanks
in
for your
2012,
help, mate.
2013. Yeah, thanks very much for your help. Like, I've endured enough pain and suffering as it is. And I'm pretty sure you, as you said at the time, you did have my best interests and all those other people that you're going to look after, best interests at heart. But your career seems to have progressed quite nicely since then. So I'm sure you don't give a rat's ass. But anyway, but as I said, I'm sick of these politicians saying they're going to do something and do fuck all about it. And the problem is it's costing people their lives, their livelihoods, their families. It's destroying people.
Yeah.
And these politicians need to be more accountable to it. The government needs to be more accountable to it. And until they start getting their heads out of the sand or out of their arse or whatever it is, and actually putting the proper money and proper funding into these problems and addressing the problems, not Band-Aid fixes with EAP cards, crap and all that sort of stuff, actually hard solutions, you know, like actually putting things in place, this is going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get a lot worse. Those ministers out there, Stuart Ayres and all those other people, fucking practice what you preach. Don't freaking tell us a load of bullshit and then don't follow up on it.
Yeah.
So,
because what we're suggesting, as you know, to put care into and be proactive, it takes effort and it takes a little bit of money.
Yeah.
But the government are happy to just not do any of that and just pay higher insurance premiums, $42 million extra a year, because they've had an increase in claims from going off on medically unfit. So, you know, I just want to see that 42 million redirected to actual programs that are going to help people before they get broken and not have to suffer like we have and thousands of others have. So,
and the suffering's going to continue until they actually do something about it.
Yeah.
And as you said, that's wasting money. Like, you're paying extra premiums. Yeah, big deal. For what? So then people can put a claim in and then endure more stress and hardship because of that claim being put in. Not getting the treatment they need, but getting more anxiety and more pressures put on them. And then the bills have then got to be escalated, be going even higher. So the government seem to, they talk budgets and stuff like that, but they're pretty good at wasting money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of waste there that if the money was channeled into the right direction, they'd probably find that over a long-term time, they would get those costs back because they wouldn't be wasting money, and they'd have people probably serving in the services a lot longer because they've been looked after.
Exactly, mate.
You know, and not only that, like, it's not so much like stopping the problem. How much does it cost to train each person in those positions? Like millions. Like each person that gets trained. So each time someone gets churned out and they've got to bring someone in, just the cost in training alone and someone new. You know, like they're spending millions and millions on training all these staff across all these different organisations for them to just break down and burn and be discarded.
Yeah.
And they don't care about it. Like, that's a waste of money right there and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I knew that they were going to spend millions of dollars training me up to be a couple of it for 24 years, only for me to be like this now, I'd have said, save your money, just give me the money and just let me go off with my life. Save me the heartache, you know? Like, what's the point of, you know, spending all that money and investing in someone to go out there and do a job when you're not going to invest in looking after them?
Yeah, that's right. It's literally sending them. You're being sent to a society war every day, and you're just on your own. Just deal with this on your own. Yeah.
And it should not be that way. And a few people that I've spoken to from these podcasts and stuff like that, that's the overwhelming thing. You feel so alone.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And mate, I do the same. Like, I feel so alone in it. It's and I know I've got your support and all that sort of stuff, but it's still the overriding feeling is that you're alone with it, because it's just
it's hard. It's something that you do.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows how you feel, and no one can tell you just be better. And so, you know, everyone's got to ride it with you and just do what they can. But at the end of the day, we're all alone in it. It just needs to be. It doesn't have to get to this point. Like, I think we've recognized so many places along the way that if there was intervention or that was available or that could have been done, we wouldn't be where we are now, and we wouldn't have to, and we wouldn't be getting messages from all over the country from all different departments that, hey, me too. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I know that. And that's like, it's not comforting, but it's recognition that what you're going through, you're not crazy. You're not alone in this. This is all too common. That's the worrying thing. It is all too common.
Yeah.
People need to have a look at actually what's going on, and they're not going to do that by sitting behind the desk and not actually getting out there and asking questions and saying, no, they're all too scared to ask and seek and speak to them. That's why they'd probably be too scared to put a psychologist in the station, because they think, oh, if there's a psychologist there, we're going to lose everyone. But they're not going to lose everyone. They're allowing an avenue for people to look after themselves. Like, most of the people that are in there, like, there are an element of people that are abusing the system to get out and get a payout and stuff like that. But predominantly everyone that's seeking assistance and help, it's like, I know personally, I would not want to go through this knowing how shit it is. Just if we can get some payout at the end of it type thing. Like, and the only way you can obviously survive that is if you're of sound mind to get through it all. Like, this is, seriously, all I'm trying to do, I don't want to I want to get back to work. So I'm just trying to get help, and to try and get help, it's torture. So, and it should not be like that.
Yeah. And the amount of, I mean, we'll get going, but, you know, maybe the next one we'll talk about the amount of people reaching out and saying, hey, I don't ask for help because of the backlash that's going to come from it within the station. So that's something that, you know, we'll talk about on the next podcast possibly, and go from there. But
mate, if before we end, if I can end on a bit of a positive, mate, I just want to give some. Mate, I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago. They got a package in the mail. Had no idea. Got this little book here.
Just One Reason.
Just One Reason. It's written by a gentleman called Stuart O'Neill. He actually even personally signed it for me. I had no idea where it came from. It just appeared in the mail one day. he didn't send anything apart from signing inside the cover, and it's pretty much to mark the universe has brought us together for a reason. Take care, Stuart. It's a book about suicide awareness, about what you can do to maybe give you, and that's just one reason. There's a little book that you can write things down there to give yourself that just one reason to maybe stop you from doing something silly, or to maybe give you something to stop and think before you actually go and act or do something. And it's quite a insightful little book, actually. I'm not plugging the book for people to go out there and buy, but if you do want to have something to read and you are struggling with those thoughts, it might be an idea to have a bit of a read of it, because I found it quite interesting. But I just wanted to, I don't know if you'll see the podcast and that, but he actually read my story in the Daily Telegraph. He reached out to the journalist at the Telegraph, and she forwarded him my details, and he just sent that there because he, he's very passionate about suicide prevention, having lost a family member to it, and he's done a book for that.
That's awesome, mate.
If he's listening, and if he's listening to the podcast, I have thanked him. I actually rung him and messaged him and thanked him. But if he is reading that, and just let people know that his book is out there and it's a very useful and helpful tool, I'm just very, very appreciative of his gesture, and for him to reach out to me in that way, it was very nice. So.
Awesome, mate. Can you just hold it up to the camera again? Just one reason. Cool. I love it. Thanks, mate.
Man, it's a small little book, and there's room in there for you to write down certain things that will give you that just one more reason to keep fighting and keep going. And it's a good, insightful little book, actually. It's something that I'm definitely going to work through and fix. And as I said, any little thing that can help you just get through each and every day, it's a positive. It's a positive. So
mate, it's a great little tool. That's the clients that I work with. Like when they're feeling good and we've got our sessions going, when they're good, I said, write down what is in your life right now. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you having alcohol? Who are the people you are hanging around? So when things turn to shit and you relapse, or you're not feeling good, go back to what you've written down at times that you felt great, and look at what you were doing, who you were hanging around, what you were reading, so that you have just one reason to get back on track, or just one reason might just save your life. And so I think that's an awesome tool, and to have it in a little book is great. And that's really, it's really great of him to reach out to you like that without any expectation in return.
Well, there was none, like I said, there was no return number or anything like that. So it wasn't, obviously, he just sent me the gift. As I said, until I spoke to the people at the Telegraph, I had no idea that it was him that sent it. I think I spoke to you if you had any idea of anyone that may have sent it to me and things like that. So
amazing.
I said it was very much appreciated when I received it, and I'm very grateful for it. It's nice to know that people are hearing what's going on and listening and stuff like that, and that's the thing. Like, people got to realise that people are listening and hearing things. So we're hoping that eventually that will lead to change. It's not going to happen overnight, but the more noise we can make, I'm hoping it can lead to change. And that's just one reason. Like, I've been close to suicide a couple of times, haven't done it, and there's obviously something in my subconscious, which is probably just that one reason that's kept me going. And that's all it takes, is just that one reason, I guess, to keep going to the next day and stuff like that. Like, for me, that's my kids and things like that. Like, and I know when I've settled down and stuff like that, that's an overwhelming thought that comes to my mind, and I'm usually breaking down in tears after all the anger and all that subsided and stuff like that. That's, but yeah, it was just out of the blue it came, and as I said, the universe has for some reason have aligned us up, and I'm very grateful to him for sending that to me. As I said, he had no reason to send it, except that he's obviously a decent and good human being, and just reached out to me. So very, very thoughtful.
Mate, thanks for sharing that. That's powerful. Thank you.
No dramas, mate.
All right, mate. I'll end it. Just stay on the line.
Yep.
All right, mate. Cheers.
Mate.
Take care, okay?
See you, buddy. Yep.
All right.
Cheers, mate.